Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praises, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Harachakwadash. Double honors be to the apostles and elders of that great millstone who rule well and have taught us this 100% truth. Much peace and blessings be unto you, hopeful. Elata to push not this word of truth and sincerity to Yoachim Aduse Shalom. I am the Achra. I'm coming with a quick lesson going off of the verse of the day on the King James Bible Online.org website. And the verse is Proverbs, the 31st chapter, verse 30. Wait for a bit of backdrop on the chapter. Just like a brief overview, it's basically the ideal type of woman, right? How a woman should be. And that's what the sisters aspire to be. And what a lot of so-called sisters who inwardly are, evil as hell, but, in public show themselves to be, this goody two-shoe type of character. They proclaim to be a Proverbs 31, woman, but, really they ain't. And, a lot of us are witnesses to it, and especially considering the fact that these women have been so, influenced by the ways of this place, these westernized women. Right, they think it best that they could, rule over the man instead of abiding by the order of the man being the head. Hell, you bring out that precept, right? I think that was First Corinthians, right? Going into the man is the head of the woman. You bring out that precept on this side, suddenly you're considered a bigot, right? First Corinthians 11 and 3. And pull out the precept that's not popping out. God damn it. Pull out the precept. I don't care. Alright, 1 Corinthians 11th chapter verse 3. But I would have you know that the head of every man is Mashiach, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Mashiach is Yahweh. That is the hierarchy. And you bring out that precept on this side, all of a sudden you're deemed Republican. People literally equate Republican into the stereotypes, of modern day Christianity and whatnot. How they ruin and mar the scriptures and whatnot. And they get a bit extreme, which we're not for. Extremes? Though they may label it as such because the doctrines we teach, the doctrines of Great Millstone, are opposite of that what's desired here in Babylon. But that's just the rule of the prophet. The prophesy against kingdoms and countries of war and pestilence, evil, so on, right? We're not here to prophesy a blessed future, right? Maybe several hundred years ago, you could have had a prophet talking about how America's gonna be prosperous. Yeah, and even then it would be for a short time because, when we talk about an eternal future, that only pertains to the kingdom of Yasharallah. But what's it called? I digress. You bring up 1 Corinthians 11th chapter verse 3. Suddenly you're deemed insult, which even then, that's like a terrible, use of the word. Because initially that term insult, or I guess you would spell it and pronounce it as invul or something like that. It was coined by a woman for both man and woman, for both female and male, who struggle with dating. Right, involuntary celibate is what it was. Because celibacy, for definition, it would mean someone abstaining from sexual activity or marriage and whatnot. So it's involuntary, involuntary celibacy, and so it was for both man and woman. But then you got your 4chan and whatever the freaking hell, something. What I call semantic drift. I'm not sure that's an actual, term. Or, yeah, it is a thing, semantic drift. Or semantic change is a gradual evolution of a word's meaning over time, where words' modern usage becomes significantly different from its original meaning. And that's a big thing, with the scriptures as well. That's why the apostles and elders, or starting off with those men, and the rest of the men on down at Great Millstone, they cannot stress it enough for us to know the Greek and the Hebrew, to learn the Greek and the Hebrew, and investigate words, go into the etymology and things like that. Because semantic drift is literally a biatch. It does more the definitions, or it mars the words, because new definitions. So now you're labeled a so-called insult, which the modern definition would be, hate women and whatnot. We're not women haters. We love women. Scriptures are big on talking about how women are beautiful and whatnot. Oh, hell, what's it called? Wasn't it Zorobabel? Is it Rubabel? Zorobabel? Who what's it called? Yeah, that wrote the letter of the woman. Let me just fact check. Yeah, and first, that's just the 4th chapter. Zerubbabel argues that women are strongest because they rule over men. Not literally rule over men, because patriarchy has been established, and that's the way the Lord ordained it. What's it called? It is through them that men come forth. Now, ultimately, as we've been taught, what's it called? It is the man that carries the seed, right? That life. And then that seed goes into the woman's womb, and then basically you're incubated. You're being formed by the Lord in said mother's womb until 9 or 10 months, and then you pop out the belly of the woman. All right, and also many have fallen over the wits. That's what Zerubbabel made mention in his letter, talking about how many have fallen over the wits, and one individual that comes to mind is Samson, which, as the other apostle Tahar made a mention, we'll see whether or not Samson be of the elect, or he a two-third, because he was certainly a cautionary tale. He was certainly unstable. He was a different character. He was a unique character, unstable. But then again, the apostle Paul did what's it called? I presume it was referred to him as a Samson, or included Samson as faithful. I'm gonna just quickly prove it out. I'll quickly bring out the precepts of Lakia. All right, Hebrews 11th chapter verse 30. Hebrews 11th chapter verse 32. What's up with that? The browser ain't bringing out the precepts anymore. Mother effer. Okay, something's happening. Maybe Esau's trying to get, hey, famine of the word. If anything, that's the famine of the word. All right. Shabber with me. Okay. Amos 8 and 11. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord Yahweh, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord. Yeah, now typically, when you go on the browser, on the Safari or Google, whatever you use, you may roughly paraphrase a precept, and at the end of your URL search thing, you put KJV, and then it shows you various precepts. But right now, it's not showing me any of the precepts I want. Okay, so I'm about to manually switch it up on the blue letter. Hebrews, the 11th chapter, verse 32. And what shall I more say? For the time would fail me to tell of Gideon and of Barak. Yeah, these were judges. What's it called? You can read about them in the book of Judges. Gideon and of Barak, and of Samson and of Jephthah, of David also and Samuel and of the prophets, who through faith, so he was acquainted as a man of faith, who through faith subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions. And if I recall correctly, David also stopped the lion besides Samson. What's it called? Lion's attack method is clawing you with their claws, or biting you. And what's it called? Wasn't it David that slew a lion and a bear? Let me just quickly check. I'll pull out the precept. Okay. 1 Samuel 17:34, and David said unto Saul, thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear and took a lamb out of the flock. 35, and I went out after him and smote him and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard and smote him and slew him. My servant slew both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing he had defied the armies of the living God. Ooh, what's it called? David was encouraging. That's how he was a man of the Lord. What's it called? What's it called? Considering, David's testimony with slaying ravenous, bear and a lion, as well as Samson, slaying a lion. Hey, that's how we will do our enemies. A lion is a strong foe if we were to go against them. What's it called? Hey, those are spirits, laid out for vengeance, right? Teeth of wild beasts, scorpions, and so on and so forth. That was the book of Ecclesiastic, is the 39th chapter. Hey, so if those are strong foes, if those men of the Lord were able to, take them out. Just imagine, you finna get down on, what's it called, Esau Edom, right? Esau with the flipping E. He out here tweaking. He think he finna, surpass and overcome. He ain't gonna do jack shy in the end. 1 Peter 5:8, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil as a roaring lion walketh. Yeah, so what's it called? Even what's it called? Our enemy likened as a lion. And so just like how David and Samson were able to slay lions, hey, we finna slay lions too. We finna slay, what's it called, the heathen too, starting out with Esau Edom, right? True enemies that, go up against us. And Isaiah 59:19 comes to mind, right? What's it called? The Lord shall lift up a standard, which that standard means to escape, delivered out of the hand. And when you're delivered out of the hand, you're not gonna die. You got the victory, not the defeat. And if you have the victory, that means they're delivered into your hand. But how? You got, what's it called? Esau coming up with, super soldiers and whatnot. And you're just an ordinary man that's been called to prophesy, anointed by the Lord, right, as a prophet. Well, spiritual power, baby, spiritual power. What's it called? Anyways, Hebrews, the 11th chapter. 33, who through faith subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouth of lions. Woo! Anyways, there's more. Quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword. What's it called? David definitely comes to mind. You know how many times he escaped the sword? And that's how you know that was man of the Lord. You know, the Lord protect his own. Out of the weakness were made strong, waxed valiant in fight, turned to flight the armies of the aliens. What's it called? Just a quick precept going into Samson. You know, he was accounted as, you know, he was allotted with those other judges, with those other men. So, you know, like the other Apostle Torah said, we'll see whether he be the elect or not. I know I can talk about he was a man of the Lord, he was righteous, so, you know, Lord willing, he do get delivered. Yeah, so Samson, I made them mention how, you know, he was an example of how he fell over his wits for Delilah, because he was vexing to death. Right, you know, a woman was being, annoying, and hey, even then, you know, an annoying woman, that's not a good, you know, that's not an orderly woman, right? That's not Proverbs 31. That's not very Proverbs 31 of you. So yeah, he was vexing to death. Okay, you know, hey, because a woman is supposed to be an helpmate, you know, she wasn't being no helpmate. Right? And, you know, Ephesians, the 5th chapter, verse 22, makes mention how wives submit yourselves unto your own husbands as unto the Lord. Was that? Yeah, 22. For the husband is the head of the wife, right? She wasn't submitting. You know, hell, she didn't. At that point, she didn't love him. You know, she was materialistic. She went out for the money. You know, Philistines offered her some. You know, she took it. You know, or she took the bribe, the deal, and several times she tried to get Samson. You know, killed. Talking about Samson, the Philistines be upon thee. Samson, the Philistines be upon thee. Hell no, dude. Hey, Proverbs 14:1, every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with her hands. Alright, hey, a house starts off with the man, the woman, you know, husband and wife, and then they got children. Hey, she destroyed it before the children even came about. And a lot of modern day women, they destroy houses, right? You know, and then you got this whole, you know, favor and support for the woman talking about, oh, you know, you don't share anything in common with your man. You should just leave him, dump him. Yeah, but when it's the other way around, it's a goddamn double standard. Oh, no, don't leave your wife, you know, just because you got nothing in common, I stay with her, you know, or else you know better than so on and so forth. Like, mofo, shut the F up, dude. Jesus Christ, man, retarded. And I say Jesus Christ in dishonor. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. What do you think I gave a damn about those names? Hell no. No, the only names I honor are Yahweh, Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai being the true name of the Son. You know, so I would never say, you know, Yahweh Shai effing. I would never say that. No, Jesus fucking Christ though, because you know, that's not the true names. You know, the true names are Yahweh, Yahweh Shai. Anyways, yeah, so, you know, women are supported by everybody. Talking about, oh yeah, just leave them, you know, you got nothing in common, just leave them and whatnot. Hey, but as the other Apostle Gabar put it, I literally quoted what he said once upon a time, like a while ago. And it was about the woman, how they're supposed to see us, right? A woman is supposed to fall in love with you, not you fall in love with her. We fall in love with Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai. To the woman, you're supposed to be her Lord. She's supposed to look at you like she's looking at the Lord, right? So Hey, she's supposed to see you as, you know, the top. You know, top man. Hey, we finna be the top man. You know, hey, we're designated to be the top man. And that means, just like in the movie Coming to America, yeah, at the start of the film, if I'm correct, it's been a while since I've seen that film, with Eddie Murphy, right? That's the actor's name, Jake's name. Yeah, well, in the film, you have that one chick, that one chick who was like, I am to serve you, or whatever, basically, whatever Eddie Murphy's character liked, whatever Eddie Murphy's character liked, whatever were his pastimes, favorite pastimes and whatnot, that was the woman's, favorite stuff, so, for example, say I had a wife, an orderly wife, right? And I like pizza. She's gonna like pizza too. I say I like golf. She finna golf with me too. You know, that's how I finna be in the kingdom. You think it was to call, some freaking misogynistic bullcrap. Got that misogynistic bullcrap. What's it called? Misogyny, prejudice against females. Prejudice meaning preconceived, unjustified, and usually negative attitude or opinion from against an individual or group. No, what's it called? We don't fit the description. We don't. What's it called? We're not prejudicial against women. We don't hold negative opinions. I mean, we hold negative opinions on the modern day woman. Who's unruly, but a woman in general. And as the apostles broke it down, a woman is, what's it called? Female servant. She loves her man. And because again, she's an helpmate. Hey, what's it called? Time back to New Testament made the mention how the woman was made for the man. 1 Corinthians 11 and 8 and 9. For the man is not of the woman, but the woman of the man. Neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man. Right, so you're supposed to be our helpmate, what's it called? And, what's it called? Obviously, we understand there are certain men out there, like really freaking wicked, they beat down the woman. Yeah, that's wicked, we're not like that, What's it called? Now you're going off at that point. That's called abuse of power. And last time I checked, the only people who abuse power is, the heathen, starting out with the Esau Edom. And that's why, what's it called? Proverbs 29:2 makes the mention now, when the wicked and authority of the people mourn. But when the righteous are established, hey, the people rejoice because, us, we finna be transparent and just and balanced, holding balance. But I digress. Telling you a woman is inferior to the man, the weaker vessel, that's literally what it says. Weaker vessel. 1 Peter 3 and 7, weaker vessel. Hey, what's it called? She's below the man. Hey, but said precept, 1 Peter 3 and 7, where it talks about her being the weaker vessel, it does make the mention how likewise ye husbands, though with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered. All right, so hey, treat her with honor, understanding, gentleness. What's it called? But what's it called? Either way, she is weaker. She's biologically she's weaker. Emotionally she's weaker. She also lacks wisdom, as the scriptures state. So she's weak and inferior because she's below the man. But that doesn't mean you get to freaking beat her down. Hell no. Alright. What's it called? It's gotta be, balance. Balance. Hey. A just way is the Lord's delight. What's it called? Right, so, a woman, she's supposed to, love you. Going back. Right, so you see how Delilah wasn't, she didn't love Samson. Else, she wouldn't have never made that freaking, that covenant, that agreement with the Philistines talking about, or, the Philistine Lord's talking about some, tell us a secret so we may capture and kill him. Or they didn't kill him. No. They captured him, plucked out his eyes, and then he killed them while dying himself. Right, moving those pillars, which actually it was in Marvel, the MCU's Doctor Strange 2. I think it was entitled Madness Across the Multiverse, or Madness in the Multiverse, along those lines. And at the end of the film, the Scarlet Witch, aka Wanda Maximoff, she's possessed by the Darkhold, but at the end she repents, realizes that whatever her goal was corrupt, and she repents, and hey, the way she took herself out, that was totally that was totally inspired from, Samson, destroying the pillars. What's it called? And that's the thing about Hollywood, directors. They do, take a lot of inspiration from the scriptures. The greatest movie of all time, which is still currently in effect to this day. You got that movie that Disney movie Encanto, right? You got certain, aspects that tie back to the scriptures. Like Akim, when that film first came out, Akim was talking about how Bruno represented the prophets because he had a poncho and he was giving out negative predictions, and that's really the common trope of the prophets. They do give out negative predictions as people perceive it, right? Because it's an uncomfortable truth. You also had later in the film, nearing the end, when the house collapses, you had Maria, I think her name was, the main character, on the horse, riding on the horse at night, crying, seeing the broken house. And you know where they got that from? What's it called? It was Nehemiah. Yeah, they got that from Nehemiah, the second chapter, if I'm mistaken. I think it was the second chapter, where he rode on a horse or mule or whatever at night to inspect the broken walls of Jerusalem, and he was crying. So they totally took that from the scripts, bro. Anyways, I digress. Getting out of hand here. Out of hand. I'm getting off topic here, Salakia. Where was I? What was the initial precept? Right, going back to Proverbs. I really straight away Salakia. Yeah, well, what's it called? Going back to Proverbs 31 and 30. It reads, favor. 31 and 30, right? Proverbs 31 and 30. Favor is deceitful, and beauty is vain. But a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. Now, the main thing I wanted to get out from that was, completely different from what we just went into, but either way, it's a good point. The talking about, a woman, her role, how she's supposed to be. Actually, I'll bite with that because, my I wouldn't say interpretation of it, but the way I was going to use this scripture, pertained to it was a metaphorical application to the man, which I will explain. But continuing on with how a woman should be, like an actual woman should be. Yeah, what's it called? A woman that fears the Lord, she shall be praised, right? So-called sisters, they got their due recompense. Everybody finna know these sisters. They stood stiffly, right? They didn't conform to, beauty the what's it called, outrageous beauty standards and whatnot. What's it called? Take the conform to the woman being on the pedestal. These sisters, they don't go whoring, right? And what's it called? Majority of women, not to say all women, but what's it called? Yeah, you got the sisters out here, but you also got some women that they got standards. They're virgins until marriage. So those are also good females, good women. Even though they're not the elect, but that's a good standard to have. And yeah, because as we've been taught, virginity shows value. Else after getting popped by too many men, your value goes down. That's my train of thought. I was gonna precept real quick. What's it called? It was in the book of Hosea, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, no, it was the book of Amos, the 7th chapter, verse 17. Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, thy wife shall be an harlot in the city. Right? That's a big thing. What's it called? You have a chick, you have a girl, and said girl, suddenly be hanging out with so and so dude. She be talking about how it's nothing serious. No, I'm hanging out with a friend. He's just a friend. And then what's it called? You get jealous, which is a righteous. It's a righteous thing to have. We are supposed to be jealous. Protecting the goods, our possessions. Hey, the Lord's a jealous power. You got Moses out here talking about some. Stop it. Jealousy turns women off, or some crap like jealousy is like so gross. What's it called? And it's beneath us, or what? I don't know. You know how friggin' people are on this side of the world. Yeah, well, what's it called? Let me tell you something. Yahweh Bash, he's a jealous power, right? He's protecting the goods. He's out here to protect the nation of Israel, his goods. That's his possession, right? Hey, why else would it, in various places make to mention how, for the controversy of Zion, right? Because the heathen, the judgment is for the controversy of Zion, and that's because the heathen played a part in beating us down throughout history. Starting out with Esau, Edom, right? What's it called? Our main, enemy, damn perpetrator. Right. So, modern day wives, they out here, what's it called, skankery and whatnot, dressing up, very revealing. And what's it called? They want you to accept the woman practically walking nude and whatnot, just because we hanging around shirtless and whatnot. Oh, what's it called? It's something called modesty. That's a big thing in the scripts. And even for the man, what's it called? As the apostles, starting with the apostles, the men of the Lord, that great millstone exclaim, you're not even supposed to be walking around, what's it called, shirtless and whatnot. Hell no. What's it called? We're supposed to all be wearing, full-on clothing. Like you go out in public, some pants. And not some tight shit. I remember the other apostle Tahar going into clothes, and he was talking about how you don't want to wear no tight clothes. If you be chubby, you don't go for no freaking medium shirt. Don't go for a large shirt. What's it called? Unless, you thin enough to be able to fit in a medium shirt that doesn't, that doesn't fit too tight. And no holding camp with shorts on, right? What's it called? Neither gender / sex should be, showing revealing clothes in public like that. And I remember the other apostle Tahar was showing some pictures of how it was back then. I think it was like early 20th century at the beach, where you had people wearing, full-on suits, and dresses, right? At the beach. But nowadays, you got people, you got new beaches, bro. You got new beaches, at that point, what's it called? People be walking around naked, But yeah, there's a thing called modesty. Hey, 1 Timothy 2:9, in like manner also, that women adorn themselves in modest apparel with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with broidered hair or gold or pearls or costly array. Right, but also, the man, they can't be walking around, nude all the time. If you wanna keep that modesty too. Though I know, many brothers, right, that have gym accounts, they do have photos of themselves, shirtless, like exposing their definition and muscles and whatnot. Right, but what's it called? The order was from the men of the Lord at Great Millstone to even cover up themselves, the men. I digress, however. First, it was Proverbs 31:30. Right, so, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. Right, as I forget what priest it was, made the mention how she is far precious than rubies. If wisdom is considered, precious than rubies, also a woman, a righteous woman, and that's gonna be, women in the kingdom. what's it called? But obviously there'll be more a value in a sister, that what's it called, an elect sister. Just because you got 2/3, what's it called, hoes that was hoeing about on this side, and then just because they reincarnate in a spiritual body, they're perfected. Now you what's it called? You think what's it called? They deserve a lot of praise. Hell no. What's it called? No. What's it called? Yeah, the nation of Israel will be given praise and fame. Going back to the old way, how it should have been. We're supposed to be a great nation, wise and understanding people in the sight of all nations. But really, praise and fame will start off with the elect. Elect sisters too, right? What's it called? Those women, are more valuable than 2/3 hoes, man. Hey, because on this side, rehearsing the righteous acts of standing for the Lord, that shows you what you're about. Shows you you're for Yahweh Bash, man, or Shai. Right? That shows worth. Where compared to some 2/3 hoe who died on this side, reincarnated in spiritual body, finally being perfected after living many lifetimes wickedness. If a 2/3 Eve or so who's extremely wicked on every single lifetime on this side, reincarnates in the kingdom. If she's not that valuable to me. What's more valuable would be, a sister who was ride or die for, for the truth. She was the elect sister. Hey, one sister that comes to mind would be, that mother, who got slew with her sons, and that was accounted for in the Maccabees, right? I'll pull it out. 2 Maccabees, the 7th chapter. Okay. I'm finna pull it out. Verse 1, it came to pass also that 7 brethren with their mother were taken and compelled by the king against the law to taste swine's flesh, and were tormented with scourges and whips. And then, you could read there with, a lot of them get tortured, all of them die. All of them die, and that goes to show you their faith. You got people out here, eating pork, happily. Or because they want to fit in, or they don't want to, they don't want to upset somebody, they conform and eat pork. Which is a terrible mentality to have, and you only destroy yourself even more, considering how the wages of sin is death. So you just added sin, and as it is written in sin, the sin needs death. Right, so just a sad thing, dude. Well, Shabba with me. I'll pull it out. 2 Maccabees. I'm already on 2 Maccabees, 7th chapter. Salakia, okay. 2 Maccabees, the 7th chapter, verse 20. But the mother was marvelous above all, and worthy of honorable memory. For when she saw her 7 sons slain within the space of one day, she bare it with a good courage because of the hope that she had in the Lord. Right, yes, she exhorted every one of them in her own language, filled with courageous spirit, and stirring up her womanish thoughts with a manly stomach. Manly stomach, how about that? She said unto them, I cannot tell you came into my womb, for I neither gave you breath nor life, neither was I that formed the members of every one of you, but doubtless the Creator of the world, who formed the generation of man, and found out the beginning of all things, will also of his own mercy give you breath and life again, as he not regarded not yourselves for his law's sake. Now I'm going to read that in GNT/GNB, same translation, if I'm correct. Just different titles. And it reads, and this is the GNT, right? The mother was the most amazing one of them all, and she deserves a special place in our memory. Although she saw her 7 sons die in a single day, she endured it with great courage because she trusted in the Lord. And you got tons of hoes out here, on their social medias, their description is a precept. You could have a hoe on OnlyFans, and on her Instagram account is Jeremiah 29:11. That is hilarious. So, so-called, believers, hoish women, that supposedly believe. Really, they don't believe. If they were in the shoes of this mother, they would freaking lose it. They'll go atheist. That's a big thing in this modern day world. You got atheists out here talking about some, if God were real, do you think he would let my father die, my mother? I had a professor, a long time ago, in an anthropological course. He spoke about he said those words, right? He was bitter that his parent passed away, but Lord do what he do. It was judgment. Even then it was old age. Right. So you got people out here that supposedly believe, but if they're in the shoes of an actual member, they freaking lose it. They lose it. And you're gonna see that on this side when Jacob's trouble finna hit the fan. Hey, we as plenty of the men of the Lord made the mention. We in it, but it's a slow build up. Once we hit that climax, and you actually start to see this crowd popping out, shit hitting the fan and whatnot, and you actually see tons of judgments for example, to this degree with the 7 sons and the mother. You see a Eve finna lose it, right? And they will lose it, right? Isaiah the 3rd chapter. Here it is. After it's talking about the way of a woman. She's out here, all haughty and whatnot. Hey, 3:16. More the Lord saith, because the daughters of Zion are haughty, and walk with them, stretch forth necks and wanton eyes, walking and mincing as they go, and making a tinkling with their feet. Therefore the Lord will smite with the scab the crown of the head of the daughters of Zion, and the Lord will discover their secret parts. I recall the other Apostle Gabar going into that, making them mention how that's been fulfilled with you got Southern Kingdom women, that's why they got weaves and whatnot, they're bald headed, they got diseases, but even Northern Kingdom suffer diseases, in the scalp. Right? So that's a curse on them. But their scalp and hair will be restored in the kingdom, right? But you read on down, it talks about the description of how a woman be dressed and whatnot, and I'm gonna jump down to verse 26, that's the main point. And her gates shall, verse 25. Thy men shall fall by the sword, and thy mighty in the war, and her gates shall lament and mourn, and she being desolate shall sit upon the ground. Right? So whether it be Eve witnessing or finding out her sons have been put to death, or you have some Eves, man, get slew. When shit hits the fan, oh boy, on some apocalyptic type shit. Oh boy, best believe she will lament more. It's gonna be like a freaking movie, right? It's gonna be chaotic and whatnot. Hey, but the thing about the distinction between a hoe and a righteous woman of the Lord, they're gonna walk, freaking flip out, tap dance, tubely slide, whatever the freaking hell. Hey, but this is just, man, hey, wisdom and knowledge should be the stability of the times that it is written, right? Time back to 2 Maccabees, the 7th chapter, verse 20, it made the mention how no, I want to go back to the KJV. It made the mention how, let me find it. It was verse 21. It made the mention how the sister was filled with courageous spirits and stirring up her womanish thoughts with a manly stomach. She had a manly stomach, right? They ain't talking about she had a biological man stomach to be able to eat a lot, but no, you have the metaphor of stomaching things. Hey man, you gotta stomach this. Right, it's a hard thing to stomach. Yeah, basically, she had a tough mentality, like a masculine mentality, right? So, going back to the GNT, however, she endured it with great courage because she trusted in the Lord. She combined womanly emotion with manly courage. See that? Manly courage mentality. And spoke words of encouragement to each of her sons in their native tongue. I do not know how your life began in my womb, she would say. I was not the one who gave you life and breath and put together each part of you. It was that defeats the modern interpretation that the woman creates the fetus. She don't create the fetus. She's an incubation chamber. And she's a walking, talking incubation chamber, bud. As the men of the Lord, great Muslim have always proclaimed, it's Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai was the one that forms. Right? What's it called? That was Jeremiah, the first chapter, verse 5. I'm going to pull it out. Before I formed thee, it's like verse 4. Then the word of the Lord Yahweh came unto me, saying, Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. Before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. Right? So, the Lord's the one that formed, baby. What you think about that? Gang? That's the Heavenly Father, Yahweh. He out here on a whole new level. What's it called? So going back, it was God who did it. God who created the universe, the human race, and all that exists. He is merciful, and He will give you back life and breath again. And that also proves reincarnation. He is merciful, and He will give you back life and breath again because you love His laws more than you love Himself. You love yourself. And that's true. They're martyrs. What's it called? He that saveth himself shall lose it. But he that what's it called? Loseth his life shall save it. Directly paraphrase. I think that was Yahweh that said that. Right. Sacrifice. Right. What's it called? The spiritual sacrifice. Sacrificing. Well, in this case, they're basically sacrificing themselves. And that's really a beautiful thing in the sight of the Lord, right? Psalms 116 and 15, precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of His saints. Right, what's it called? I digress. Going back to Proverbs 31 and 30. Favor is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. Yep. Now, moving out of the way, I had made the mention. Now, there is another way I wanted to use the script, the verse, a metaphorical application, if you will. And when I first read that, I was thinking about myself. So when I read it was favor is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. And when I first read that word woman, I thought about myself. Here I am, a biological man with a masculine mentality, right? We're not here to be, homosexuals and whatnot. What's it called? That's against the scriptures, right? What's it called? I saw this, I saw myself reading this precept. And why? Well, what's it called? First of all, the nation of Israel, Yasharal, is likened to a woman, right? But that's the entirety of the nation, daughter of Zion. What's it called? Likened to a woman. Jeremiah 6 and 2. I have likened the daughter of Zion to a comely and delicate woman. Right, so a beautiful, pampered woman who is about to be destroyed by invaders from the north. Ezekiel 16 and 32 describes Israel as a wife that commits adultery / harlotry by worshiping other gods. Lamentations 1 and 1. How the city sits solitary that was full of people. How she become a widow, right? So she's likened to a widow. She that was great among the nations and princess among the provinces. How she become tributary. And another example of us, as a nation being likened unto a comely woman. Or what's it called? the Lord that calleth thee as a woman forsaken and grieved in spirit, and a wife of youth. Hey, as it is written, turn thou, to roughly paraphrase right here, turn thou backsliding children, for I am married unto you. Yep. Hey, we're married in the Yahweh Hashemel Shai. How about that, baby? Oh yeah. Also, what's it called? The parable of the virgins, right? The wise and the foolish virgins, and the bridegroom being Yahweh Shai. Right? What's it called? We're locking into what's it called? The elect is locking on the wise virgins, dude. Virgin is the title used to refer to a woman untouched. And that parable was going to the lanterns, if I'm not mistaken. Foolish women, the foolish virgins and the wise virgins. Some had their lanterns to see the bridegroom, the others didn't. To roughly paraphrase. Right, but so that those are two examples of how we're liking a woman. Also, we looked at that word "girl" and the etymology. The word "girl" originated around 1300 as a gender-neutral term for a child or young person. Its specific origins are uncertain, potentially deriving from Anglo-Saxon "gerle" or a similar Germanic root, and it only came to exclusively mean a female child by the late 15th century. Right now, that's a distinction, girl, woman. But either way, what's it called? Modern connotation would be that of the female. But back in the day, it meant any child. And with the males, man childs, they were also known as knave girls. Right? Which I know in German it was like Knabe, Knabe, Knabe. Used to refer to boys. What's it called? Girl pertaining to anybody. So even under the modern connotation of a girl exclusively referring to a female, yet also abiding by the archaic definition, I saw this verse apply to me as well. And so favor is deceitful and beauty is vain. Yeah, what comes to mind when reading that is 1 Samuel the 16th chapter verse 7, which reads, "But the Lord Yahweh said unto Samuel, Look not on his countenance or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth, for man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord Yahweh Bahashemel Shai looketh on the heart." So yeah, what's it called? For a bit of backdrop, Samuel was looking for the next anointed king after Saul effed up, and so he checked out Jesse's sons, but what's it called with these sons? Samuel was like, "Well, is this the man of the Lord? Well, he looks coming. He looks good. He looks just." But Yahweh was like, "Hey, look not on the countenance meaning appearance, or on the height of his stature, because the Lord has refused him." And that's the thing. You could have what's it called? Good looking dude. He ain't him. Whereas what's it called? The opposite of that's what the Lord is dealing with, right? The Lord, what's it called? Be doing that, to confound the wise, right, and the strong and whatnot. That was in the scriptures, right? For the Lord seeth not as man seeth, for the man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart, right? That's right. What's it called? The heart meaning the mind, the spirit. The Lord looks at the spirit. That really dictates who you are. That's where the personality is. Hey, because you could look like a good-looking guy, but inwardly you're goddamn demon. Hey, what's it called? Ted Bundy comes to mind, bro. Hey, Ted Bundy was was dressed up as a nonchalant, good-looking dude, and quote unquote. But reality, that guy was psychotic, a goddamn serial killer, right? But then you got what's it called? So-called unattractive men, and those are the Lord's prophets too. And I'm not calling the Lord's prophets ugly in an offensive sense. No, right? But so-called visually unappealing, if you will. Visually, Actually, what comes to mind is the prophet Elisha. Now, that's a beautiful man of the Lord, right? He was a beautiful man of the Lord. Oh, he still is. The spirits of the prophets be subject to the prophets, right? But you go back to the account, those 42, little loons, 42 little freaking chumps, little freaking, kids, little freaking scoundrels. Hey, they mocked, what's it called? Elisha talking about, thou baldy, hey, Elisha cursed those kids. What happened? How about you, man? Sound two birds and maul those kids, man. Hey, but you see, what's it called? To those 42 kids, he was like, this ugly looking dude. What's it called? And that goes to show you how the Lord be, working in mysterious ways as well, because he be choosing, unappealing people, for what's it called? This truth, whereas, quote unquote appealing people aren't, they could be wicked, right? Hey, but what's it called with Elisha? He finna have a goodly patch of hair in the kingdom. Or, in the reincarnation, obviously, he had hair. And he finna have hair in the kingdom. We all finna have hair. We're not gonna go bald. Not anymore. We're not gonna be old frail. We're not gonna have scars. We're not gonna have anything like that. We're gonna look like true gods, man. And you can't be a true god with some human feature, some carnal human feature, some basic, lowly, mortal flesh feature. Nah. We're gonna have immortal features. What's it called? What comes to mind? Wolverine, right? The Wolverine. He has that regenerative feature. So you stab him immediately. What's it called? His body will heal, and it would be as though he had never been pelted. And that's why what's it called? It's painful for Wolverine to unsheath his claw things, because the regenerative effort, the regenerative thing is so freaking powerful, dude. It doesn't weaken his body. It's as though he keeps on getting stabbed, like for the first time, even though he's been unsheathing those claws from his knuckles like bajillion times, but every time it closes up and the body heals it, and then he unlooses it again, he still feels the same pain, from the save nerve endings and everything, because it's as though he had not been. It's as though he had never been here, because of how what's it called, efficient that regenerative, power, healing factor because of how efficient that healing factor is. So lucky for my stuttering. Right, I digress. Spiritual bodies. Going back to the lesson. So, favor is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. Fear, right? Ecclesiastes 8 and 12, though a sinner do evil in 100 days, and his day 100 times, and his days be prolonged, yet surely I know that it shall be well with them that fear Yahweh, which fear Yahweh, which fear before him. Right, but it shall not be well with the wicked, neither shall he prolong his days, which are as a shadow before because he feareth not before Yahweh. Right, so TLDR with the good, it shall be well with the good, not well with the bad. TLDR, right? Too long didn't read. And what is one of those things that are quote unquote well? Praise and fame, baby. Time after Proverbs 31 and 30. She shall be praised. Zephaniah 3:19. Behold, at the time I will undo all that afflict thee, and I will save her that halteth, and gather her that was driven out, and I will get them praise and fame in every land where they may put to shame. Starting off with the elect. Now I'm going to end off in the book of Ecclesiastes, aka the book of Sirach, the 44th chapter, verse 1, which reads, let us now praise famous men, and our fathers that begat us. Right? The Lord hath brought great glory by them through his great power from the beginning. Such as did bear rule in their kingdoms, men renowned for their power, giving counsel by their understanding, declaring prophecies. Right, one individual that comes to mind is the prophet Daniel, and he was even one of what's they call the king's chief men. One of the top, ranking, a man of King under King Nebuchadnezzar. Also, Darius the Darius the Mede. But also, it was Joseph, in Genesis. He was practically ruler over all Egypt. The only thing that distinguished him from the only thing that distinguished him from Pharaoh, the Hamite, was a title. Because here you have the Hamitic figure. He was Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, right? But Joseph was the governor of Egypt. Yeah, Joseph practically ruled Egypt because he was given power. All that separated him was a title. All that separated him from the Hamite was title, right? But he was practically ruler over Egypt, but right. Anyways, leaders of the people by their councils. Zerubbabel comes to mind, right? It's called all the men of the Lord, bro. All the men of the Lord. King David. Hey, Yahushua, the king of the Jews. Which even then, when Yahushua made the mention how salvation is for the Jews, in that he also, he deep down, he included a northern kingdom, or not Jews, because Jews, in this most basic definition pertains to, Judites. But even then you had Benjamites, right, some of the Levites back then, as well as some scattered northern kingdom back then, in the Middle East, on the scene. But he really referred to all tribes, all 12 tribes. When he made that statement talking about salvation is for the Jews. Hey, L's Revelation, the 7th chapter wouldn't refer to the tribes. Anyways, leaders of the people by their counsels and by their knowledge of learning meet for the people, wise and eloquent, and there are their instructions. Yeah, wise and eloquent, but you listen to the words of the prophets. It's as it's like Zen, baby, like Zen. Some peaceful, nice music. And as a matter of fact, the prophets, their prophesying is attributed to as them singing a comely song. I think that was Ezekiel, the 33rd chapter. I'm gonna quickly fact check that. Fact check. A righteous fact check, because you got Esau fact checking online, but his fact checks are just basically denials and cover-ups. Anyways, I was right. Ezekiel 33 and 32. And lo, thou art unto them as a very lovely song, of one that hath a pleasant voice, eloquent, and can play well on an instrument, for they hear thy words, but they do them not. And when this cometh to pass, lo, it will come, then shall they know that a prophet have been among them. Yeah, what's it called? Hey, same way people out here, they clown the prophets, man. Yeah, Drewski's mofo, what's it called? As I heard, mocking the prophets, talking about, hey, them spiritual niggas, hey, they spiritual niggas, they goofy. What's it called? But he dressed up as IUIC, so, it's all good because it's IUIC. But then again, it doesn't really matter. But then again, it does matter because, as the men of the Lord at Great Millstone, exclaimed, it doesn't matter if there's a distinction in cap, because at the end of the day, people outside this thing, they only see Hebrew Israelites as one big thing. So they don't see a camp. They don't see different schools, ideologies, and different doctrines. They just see one big group. When that's not the case, there's distinctions, right? GMS is different from all the other ones because they have the 100% truth, and they ain't gonna be some conformist, people, being friends with the world, because it's enmity against the most like Yahweh Bahashim, and that's why GMS is so distinct and different. They're so masculine and practically harsh in their austerity, man. Those are the men of the Lord, man. But you check out ICPK, they look like a bunch of goofy niggas in the world, freaking wearing biker jackets and whatnot. They might as well just be a freaking biker gang at that point, dude. Anyways, yeah, what's it called? So they mock the prophets. People in this world, they mock the prophets. And prophets, they bore what's it called? A lot of hate. Or no. Well, actually, obviously, the men of the Lord, they hate, obviously, what's it called? The Lords in the nations are in the nation. But hey, they receive a lot of hate, is what I mean, what I'm gonna say. They bore a lot of burdens, a lot of problems, a lot of stress. The duty of a prophet is not all what's it called, cupcakes and rainbows. Yeah, you got loons in the world like Prophet Lovely. I think that guy's an Hamite or Jake. But you got them mofos out here proclaiming they prophets. Oh yeah, so and so's a prophet. They've been called by Jesus Christ since the age of whatever the freaking hell. Over a dream. Hell no. All they do is just all they do is talk. They talk the talk, but they can't walk the walk, because historically, and to this day with the actual prophets, it's a burdensome. It's a burdensome. Burdensome. No, you got Jeremiah. He tried to renounce the Lord. He couldn't. And it was also, him that made the mention now, hey, his words was a fire in my bones, really paraphrase. So, you can't quench, you can't quell the spirit. What's it called? Yeah, what's it called? Hey, them niggas, so-called pastors out here talking about some, them wacky tacky Christians talking about some, I'm a prophet. You ain't no goddamn prophet. Hey, well, where the garment at? Where that beard at? Hey, where that beard at, bud? Hey, are those chillins on the plate? Is that pork on the plate? Oh. As a prophet, Jesus told me we could eat with it. No, mofo, that's not what he motherfucking said. That's not even his name. That's not even his name. So yeah, very soon the kingdom people are going to find out who the real men of the Lord is, or the true prophets. And they will receive them. Best believe they will. They will receive praise and fame. Right? What's it called? That is a fulfillment. That will be a fulfillment of prophecy. And they will be your rulers, your leaders, that governing body. Anyways, that being said, Lord, someone said I find something that's when I do say shalom.